Have you ever opened a jar of Crisco and proceeded to slather it all over your body? I have. I know what you're thinking. Half of you in this room are old enough to know exactly why I would do such a thing, and the other half of you probably haven't held a jar of Crisco in years, if ever. You see, it was the summer of 1992, and I was just exiting the 6th grade. My friend was over, and our plan was to lay out all afternoon and work on our suntans. As I grabbed our towels, I reached for the brown bottle of suntan lotion when my friend stopped me. "Wait," she said, "don't you have any baby oil?" Given that my little sister was just a toddler, I thought for sure we'd have some baby oil lying around. We did not, to which my friend said, "Let's go look for your mom's Crisco." "Crisco," I said. "Yes, it's how my older sister gets so tan." Although I was suspicious that vegetable shortening was good for my skin, I silenced my doubts when I pictured her older sister in my mind. She was gorgeous, popular, and bronze. Total prom queen material. Wanting to stay in the good graces of my more popular friend and upgrade my white legs, frizzy hair, and oversized red glasses to the prom queen looks of her older sister, I quickly slathered on that Crisco. After all, at age 16, she must know what she's talking about. Because high schoolers know everything. So there we laid that summer, literally baking ourselves in the sun, listening to an endless track of Mariah Carey tunes who was dominating the charts that summer. Proud of my bronzing skin with only a hint of sunburn, I asked my mom, "So, how do I look?" To which she sweetly replied, "Honey, did you ever remember to turn over and tan your back? You look a little bit like a zebra." I was too embarrassed to wear shorts that summer until I could even it out. Pass the Crisco. From a young age, we have an immature relationship with authority. Psychologists call this authority bias, which means that we are more influenced by the opinions and judgments of perceived authority figures. When I was in middle school, this meant high schoolers were the authority. I had my friend's sister on a pedestal of perfection. This bias can lead us to accept information or instructions without critically evaluating the content, simply because it comes from a perceived authority, like a teacher or a leader, or trusting that a high schooler knew what was good for my skin. In today's world, it can look like blind trust that ChatGPT always gives us the right answers. We never really outgrow this, and it reared its ugly head again when I found myself in corporate America, in one of those all-day meetings in a windowless gray conference room. As the day stretched on, I felt like the conversation was going in circles, and I felt like I was getting annoyed. Finally, we got a bathroom break. And as I went into the bathroom and I closed the doors, I asked myself, why are you so annoyed? And I started to realize that we were hearing from the same voices over and over again, sharing the same old ideas. And because I was in the male-dominated field of financial services, most of those voices were male voices. So I thought to myself, well, are there more men than women in this room today? There were not, although most of the senior leaders were men. So I said to myself, these women should speak up. And it's almost as if those bathroom walls came in on me and said, well, you could be the one to speak up. I was appalled at this. I mean, who am I to speak up? What if I sound silly? These people have higher titles than me. They're smarter than me. They've been here longer than me. Do I even have enough experience, even though I'd been there for 11 years? The thought of being more vocal terrified me. I mean, who was going to listen to what I have to say? I wish I could tell you that I walked out of that bathroom stall, went back into that meeting, and had mic drop moments. But I did not. I sat through the meeting silent. But something had changed. I started to notice how all of my doubts and lack of confidence kept me more silent than I wanted to be. I started to notice the doubt that would sink in my stomach and the nerves that would jump in my throat and all the stories that went through my head about what might happen if I spoke up. I was silenced by the thought that if I said something, people would surely know that I was incompetent, out of line, or just plain wrong. I was silenced because I was intimidated by the hippo in the room, the highest paid person's opinion. I didn't have a name for it then, but looking back now, I realized that I had a big problem, what I lovingly call a pedestal problem. How many of you all have ever put someone on a pedestal thinking that because they have a higher title than you, more experience than you, or even more charisma than you, then they must know best. And therefore, your ideas and insights don't matter. Or there's no room for your expertise. I know I did for years, and it kept me from being a more confident and impactful leader. But how many of you have actually ever gotten to know that person and realized that they are human and don't know all the things just like you? To advance to a more confident level of leadership, I had to learn how to pull the pedestal. And while I slowly tried to pull others off the pedestal, recognizing that I had equal insights to share, it wasn't until I actually left corporate America and started my own coaching business until I fully recognized this truth. Everyone is just trying to figure things out, even if they look confident. Nobody has all the answers, not even executives. They sat on the other end of coaching sessions looking for answers too. I encountered leaders of all levels, especially but not always women, who had shrunk themselves into silence and lower visibility roles. So this led me on a quest to uncover, why do we underestimate ourselves and our leadership potential? In my hundreds of conversations with leaders, I found that the pedestal problem interrupts the connection we have with ourselves. When we put others on a pedestal, we assume that they know better than us, and so we need to silence our ideas to go along to get along. We stop trusting ourselves and our inner ways of knowing things. We interrupt the connection we have with our intuition and ideas that can make our work and our world a better place. Spurred by taking others' well-meaning advice without checking in, we can climb the ladder of success only to realize that it's been leaning against the wrong building. Contrast this with when people put us on a pedestal. We can turn into a brilliant jerk who never gets good feedback. People are too intimidated to share their concerns and their feedback with us. And this misconnection is the recipe for corporate scandals that shatter organizations. Because when we put our leaders on a pedestal, we actually superhumanize them, which dehumanizes them. It creates an allure of perfection that keeps us from seeing our leaders as real people. And this creates withholding. Pedestal leaders withhold their real concerns and struggles from their team, creating isolation and disconnection. And then their team withholds the ideas and feedback that those leaders need to create thriving and connected cultures. All of this keeps us overlooking the human side of all of us that just wants to be seen, heard, and understood, just as we are. In my conversations with existing and aspiring leaders, the pedestal problem has left books unwritten, dream jobs unrealized, products undeveloped, policies outdated, status quos unchanged, and cultures mediocre. How many of you are silencing an idea or an insight right now because you have someone on a pedestal? So how do we pull the pedestal, stop underestimating ourselves so that we can connect to our full leadership potential? Some people might think that to pull the pedestal, we just need to have more confidence or fake it until you make it. But that never worked for me or anyone else that I know. In my conversations with happy and fulfilled leaders, I found that they have reconnected to themselves, equalized their connections with others, and connect to the future that they desire to create. To this, I actually have no advice for you. Why? Because I don't want you to put me or the advice that I could give you on a pedestal, thinking that I know better than you do about how you could be the most clear and confident leader that you can become. However, I do have 3 questions that you can ask yourself so that you can reconnect to your full leadership potential. First, to reconnect to yourself, ask, does this advice, person, or situation align with my values and what I stand for? Because if you don't know what you stand for, what will you settle for? Second, to equalize your connections with others, ask yourself, what is that unique talent, perspective, or point of view that only I can bring to the world, to my work, or just this meeting? Because when you can own those unique talents about you, the more clearly you can see the talents in others without compare and despair, bringing you back together to the table as equals. Finally, to connect to the future that you want to create, ask yourself, what am I meant to create? When I am 80 and living in my dream retirement, what legacy have I left behind that I am proud of? Because somebody is waiting for you to take action on your unique calling. When we settle for living by other people's values and advice, not standing for those unique talents and points of views that only we can offer the world, we underestimate ourselves and put others on a pedestal. We disconnect from that inner intelligence that only we have that knows how to make our work and our world a better place. Flashing back to the summer of 1992, perhaps the words of the great Mariah Carey, the great philosopher, should have sunk in a bit more deeply than my sunscreen lotion choice. She sang these lyrics to us. Look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. To stop underestimating ourselves, which fuels the confidence-killing effects of compare and despair, and rise and reconnect to our full leadership potential. It's time to stop overestimating others' intelligence and underestimating our own. Thank you.